Alright, hey there everyone, I'm Michael Nelson. I'm here to give some unsolicited opinions on the recent changes post-nationals that they just posted on WizKids. I'm not going to be reading back the reasoning for the rules that the rules team had for making the changes. So if you had to read them, please pause the video, go back, read them, then come back. Rereading all of that is just not going to be a useful use of anyone's time right now. Overall, I'm very pleased with what changes they had, barring a few notable ones. But the point of this video is more about how to change your playstyle rather than just complain. Although some complaining may slip in here, I am only human. Right off the bat, the biggest one that they start with is the barrel, the nifty traffic barrel. Honestly, I think it's the biggest loss of the changes. I think it is a necessary one to some extent. It's going to be a lot harder to stave off alpha strikes from characters that move through blocking, like Colossus, like anyone with the Crimson Gem. So it's going to swing the meta more in the favor of going first again, I feel, which is more alpha strikes, more moving through terrain, because the barrel was the main way of stopping that. However, in such a barrier-heavy meta with the copycats Phoenix, Dream Ruby, you can get easily 2, 3, 4 barriers on a team if you want to use all your actions barriering, but I doubt that. So the barrel did have to go to some point. However, it is not totally gone. You can still run the 20-point Plastic Man to turn into the other barrel, which effectively is the same deal, but indestructible. However, it will be costing you 20 points, not 5, and it is costing you a free action, so it cannot be done against main force Beetlejuice, which we'll get to in a second. I think this is a worthwhile trade. It's going to break a lot of theme teams unless you're running Detective, which there isn't a whole lot of right now. I mean, what best attackers you're looking at are some of the Batman swaps. I think Team Up Arrow is not bad, but really Detective is really struggling right now, so like Hawkeye, still one of the best. So you're looking at running non-theme with that. The next one they hit was Rivalry. I agree with this entirely. There were some erratas that people wanted with Rivalry or were suggesting, but it would have been just a completely retool of what it did, or trying to keep it in the spirit of what it's meant to do without foregoing everything it's doing. I think the easier response was just ban the Rivalry. And honestly, this is going to slightly lessen the need to run Chair Panther. His ability to stop 2 sideline actives coming in. Removing Rivalry. Rivalry was one of the ones that was almost always a permaban. He would just instantly turn off the Rivalry, and that's one of the two, and then usually the second was Beetlejuice, or something else, depending on the matchup, but Rivalry was pretty much always a given. Rivalry would have this weird spot in the meta, similar to Mern, actually. If they didn't remove him, you would be similar to Mern, where you're trying to avoid keywords. So, my top 16 match at Nationals, I had to deal with, excuse the extremely loud typing, Captain Marvel, who has Avengers Kree, X-Men, Cosmic Soldier, and I was running the Spot Core, that's my silver, Spot Core, the Spot Mysterio Sandman. So I pretty much was unable to use my Rivalry, even if he didn't have a way to block it. So if they didn't remove Rivalry, we would be seeing a lot more teams of just people trying to dodge all the major keywords, which is extremely annoying more than anything. So I agree, getting rid of Rivalry is probably the smartest move. Canon Event. Canon Event was the next one that they banned. This one could have received an errata in the way of when a friendly character is KO'd by an opposing effect. However, I cannot confirm how correct this is. Some people were saying that they weren't looking at errataing only the carded game elements, such as the one-shots, and it's easier to remove them. It's easier for players to not be confused, and I completely agree with that statement. they would have to reissue cards, and that would be an entire headache, so you'd only get them at certain in-person events, and it's just easier to ban it if you are not going to go forward with that errata. Now, do I think it needed to be banned? Yes, because it was about to reach its final form in a way. Right now, Canon Event was mostly going to be seen using time breakers or other generated game elements, and something like Rivals Respawn to drop them into those lava pits, KO it, and let your other figure be immune. We were about to reach its final form in Colossal Sinestro, and this is one of the things I was saying at Nationals on why Canon Event needed to be banned or errated in particular. The Legacy Sinestro Colossal. So this is a minor nerf to him in a way. Even though he has not come out yet, this was going to be a cornerstone strategy for a few teams, one of mine included. Perplex, when Sinestro uses it to target an opposing character, after resolutions, you may generate a yellow construct adjacent. You would generate your yellow construct 10 squares out, which, if they still work the way, well, they're not on here, they still work the way they worked in Batman Team Up, so you would perplex someone down 10 squares out, wherever Sinestro ran off to. You perplex them out 10 squares out, which is more than 6 squares from Sinestro. It is then instantly KO'd, triggering your Canon Event. So yeah, it had to go, because otherwise your Canon Event would only cost you a single free action and 0 points on board, 5 points for it. And this was just not going to be healthy for the game. You run something like a tent pole, like a collector or something, just run it down midfield, let a Sinestro perplex someone, generate a construct, whatever you want to do, KO it, give your collector immune. We're not going to deal with that. Canon Event is gone, which is totally agreeable. The next one is the one I'm mostly not okay with. Namely, well, it's Beetlejuice. You saw me click on him. It fixes his sideline-based issues, changing him over to having to be summoned by standard characters and having to deal damage to standard characters. So no more time breakers, autonomous. This is going to be costing you actions on your turn, which is fine. If you want to spend 75% of your turn, because let's be honest, everyone's running leadership. You should be at this point. It's almost a build requirement. So if you're going to spend 75%, 3 actions on a turn, or if you want to do it over time, that's fine, but spend 3 actions of your turn, costed actions from your action total to bring him in, that's fine. Again, this is actually hitting Panther as well. Before, he was just so strong to pull in. Now it's going to cost them. It is an actual choice the player has to make on if they think that it's worth bringing him in. So this kind of devalues Chair Panther a little bit more again. Comboing in that he was the main thing people broke theme for. I think we're looking at theme teams again, between wanting to go first and Chair Panther being a little bit out. He's still extremely good. There's still other one-shots that are extremely powerful. Still being able to block the Beetlejuice. But essentially, he's a little devalued. Beetlejuice having to be coming in from standard characters, that's not your autonomous actions bringing him in, but more importantly, that is not your generated game elements such as constructs that we were about to see again. Previously, people were using things like the butterfly swarms from Butterfly, the Chi Tiger from the Prime White Tiger, or realistically, any generated game element that was 0 points, any bystanders. Those are not standard characters, that's fine. Now, what can he still damage to stay on field? Things like Kevin and Loki. Realistically, how they work is when they take unavoidable damage. Both of these things have things to say when they would take damage. Do X. Usually, Kevin goes back to his card. Loki would be KO'd. Now, Loki is only when he's damaged from an opposing effect or knockback, so he's fine from unavoidable. And these 2 figures will not be KO'd if you keep resetting Kevin to high, or Loki just never gets KO'd by this. And they are both standard characters. Kevin cannot be equipped, but that does not make him not a standard character, unlike the Qs from Star Trek, who specifically were not standard characters. So there are still ways to keep your Beetlejuice on board indefinitely. Loki's a bit more niche. Kevin saw a ton of play and will continue to see a ton of play. So keeping your Kevin on to keep the Kevin on the team to reset your Beetlejuice is still fine. However, it's going to be costing you actions. So no more bystanders doing it. That's that. Now, the biggest thing for Beetlejuice was I took down. I had the tab open, but let's pull it back up. Let's go to Joe's team for a second here. Circuits, origins, events, Nats, standings. Okay. There are 68 teams at Nationals, and only 3 of them ran a main force Beetlejuice. However, all 3 of those teams are found right here. When 3 out of 68 teams becomes 3 out of 4, there is a problem. All 4 of them had something in common, and that was, let's just open up Adam Friedman's team. They all found main force Beetlejuice on their teams. 3 out of 68 becomes 3 out of 4. 75% of the top teams were running main force Beetlejuice, and he dodged the hit from the bans. You're going to see more of him. A lot of players already had Beetlejuice from having to run him on sidelines. You nerf the sideline, they're just going to go, well, why don't I run him main force? The proposed change that I suggested, a lot of people were saying within ranges, one that I suggested was that he just shouldn't be able to be equipped like Kevin, like the Qs, because again, that is the benefit of running him on a main force, is that you're going to be equipping him. Now, Ant ran the motorcycle, I assume, on the charge senses. Senses gives him a bit more survivability. Charge gives him a lot more mobility. Isaac with destroyer armor, likely set to giant size for willpower and for +2 defense to bring those other defenses much higher. 17 giving 19 already is not bad. And Friedman put it on the health cycle, I assume, for the hyper for, again, mobility. So you're either increasing your mobility or your survivability, because those were his 2 biggest issues. Now, the winning team is the one I have not been showing, is one that did not use main force Beetlejuice. He used sideboard, of course, rivalry, of course. Fortify I have no problems with. That should not have gotten removed, and it didn't, thankfully. But we'll be seeing here with, we had the time breakers to summon and Kevin to damage. So no more time breaker summoning, but Kevin to damage will still work. Where were we going with this? Right. So how does this shape the meta? Joe's team did extremely well because he was not reliant on free actions. Notice the perplexed square is notably red. He did not use a lot of free actions, and that made his team kind of Beetlejuice agnostic. He didn't care if Beetlejuice hit the great field. Obviously, you could Chair Panther it to deny it for a while, but in general, his team worked fine when Beetlejuice hit the field. You're going to see a lot more teams this way, teams with the improved movement destroys because of Colossus, because of, not Ghost Rider, but because of the Crimson Gem. You're going to see more of this. I want to go first, I want to go through your blocking. No amount of barrier is going to stop me, I'm just going to go. So this had an extremely favorable matchup into Beetlejuice, and more specifically, main force Beetlejuice. So you're going to see more teams like this, and more main force Beetlejuices. Now, which equipment Beetlejuice gets is up to personal flavor. Personally, I am a bigger fan of the motorcycle, just because charge into a free action, such as mind control, or into destroying terrain markers, such as the shelf, would help make sure things like Spirit of Vengeance or Hulk don't get elevated. Just gives you more ability to interact with the map. Which is taken away when Beetlejuice is on board. Now, for probably the reason you would click on me making a video about this, Spot. The Spot is one of the most technical characters I've seen in a long time. Basically, the easiest way to explain how Spot works is before you move, you swap your place with your marker, and that is before each movement. So if you're having him with sidestep or hypersonic, it's each of the movements. Now, the part that they nerfed specifically was to his I am not the joke. Now it is when he hits after resolutions, you may place the hit character adjacent to the spot or a train marker within 3 squares of their current square. They have clarified. I would say this is closer to a clarification than an errata at this point. They have made it so the character can be placed the maximum of 3 squares. So effectively, adjacent to the spot or a train marker, either one must be within 3 squares of the hit character's current square. So I used my silver version. I went undefeated in Swiss at Rock, and then finished in the top 8 in Nationals for Modern. Was spot on the Hell Cycle, so we're still getting that free movement 1, or the Hyper, depending. And it was the Mysterio Sandman, so realistically this is non-reducible poison damage. Because the entire team worked by moving over, grabbing you, pulling you back, and poisoning you. Spot can no longer do this. Now, does this make Spot unplayable like I am seeing some people say online? They're saying, I don't want to play with Spot anymore. He's not good anymore. No, he is still a very good attacker. He is still a very good meta piece. He is just not this ability to position and kill box your opponents. He still has realistically a 7-8 movement, go out somewhere, come back, and then flurry for free, getting his empowers, getting all his probs, his Sin Syndicate shared attack value from Mysterio or whatever team player you want. He's still a very good figure. He is just not broken, for lack of a better term. So that's him. Spirit of Vengeance Red Hulk. The other one, I assume people want opinions on. I think he barely got nerfed. With the ability to not run 4 of the same character, you had Isaac's team with the 4 Thanoses that went kind of semi-viral, showing all 4 Thanoses on board. The picture that went kind of viral was actually a mirror match between 2 Spirit of Vengeance Red Hulks. One of them was already KO'd. And I think Spirit of Vengeance Red Hulk didn't need a major nerf. I think this is correct. Only in the way that otherwise, if you want to run Spirit of Vengeance Red Hulk, you'd be running 4 Thanoses, and that's just a lot of Thanoses out there getting distributed oddly. I think the reason Isaac went second place with this is Isaac is one of the best players in the entire world, so he could pretty much run any meta viable team and end up high in the rankings. But more specifically was that main force Beetlejuice stopping Spirit of Vengeance Red Hulk from just getting ran over. Joe notably was able to defeat it with a 2x1 blocking, which, since there's no available square to generate his pilots, they don't get generated. Since it is an optional may generate. So if there's no available squares, you don't generate. But yeah, I think the Beetlejuice is really what carried this team more than Spirit of Vengeance Red Hulk. Now, does this make Spirit of Vengeance Red Hulk unplayable? Absolutely not. You're just going to be looking at 4 different pilots now. So you're still going to be looking at that Thanos. He's still going to be there. But now you're going to be looking at stuff like Ant's team, where he ran the Thanos. He ran 2 of them, so now it's going to be down to 1. But Zombie Scarlet Witch, extremely good on her last click in particular. Kind of has a 2-attack hit with range, pull in, make it close. 12 for 4, 13 for 5 is nothing to sneeze at, even compared to 14 for 6. Otherwise, you've got the Thanos, the Scarlet Witch, and Beholder. Beholder actually was my original strat was looking at 3 and 4 Beholders because stop clicks are considered revealed when they hit the map. So, first time this click is revealed, which is when it hits the map after getting generated. After resolutions, the turn ends. Your opponent hits your Spirit of Vengeance Red Hulk onto a stop click. You generate a Beholder. That ends their turn. You have to be very mindful of this. So now you'll only be seeing 1 Beholder, and the other major one you'll be seeing probably is the Phoenix Wolverine, who has, again, a stop click when it is revealed, and will deal half a d6 worth of penetrating damage to a character within 3 squares. He increases all of his single d6 rolls by +1 for each adjacent opposing character. So run the Red Hulk up, generate him, get hit, or Chthon damage, whatever you want, generate him, put him in the middle of a bunch of people, deal anywhere between like 1 to realistically 4 or 5 damage to A character blows through stops, just really nasty little tech. Still good on Spirit of Vengeance Red Hulk. The nerf is very minor, and I feel like it was more to sate an outcry by certain players than it was to actually try and fix a figure. All it did was remove Thanos from only seeing Thanos into seeing more choices from players, which I'm a big advocate of. The more choices the player makes, the better. Uh, Lastly, we have Degaton, but only in Pulp. I'm going to take this segment mostly just to talk about Pulp. Pulp's really cool. A lot of people don't like Pulp or don't participate in Pulp. I think it has a stronger sense of fundamentals of the game, and it is the most beginner-friendly format because there should not be a Pulp team that is worth more than $50 resale. So anyone can get into Pulp. Degaton's a little too strong for it, whether that be just being a 20-point TK with prob, sees through characters. He's already good. His biggest effect is the History Will Be Ours, which can entirely shut down setups. You can replace one of their figures, so if they have a TK setup, like they're going to TK someone, you just Degaton them away. He's still in Modern, which he's not touched in Modern, thank goodness. That would be kind of a hot take to remove Degaton, but he was removed in Silver for similar reasons. He is a very powerful figure, very low cost, and he can also change his dial. And I have not seen a lot of people use him on this third dial, but I think I saw more of it in Pulp, where they would use this Pensai enhancement dial. But if you're using him for History, it will be ours, and you have a 10-point Phoenix, you might not need this TK leadership anymore, so we might be seeing more of him on that third dial in Modern. I think it's fine to remove him from Pulp. You'll be seeing build variety, because otherwise he was just this 20-point auto-include, kind of similar to Necron. Final thoughts. I think the game's moving more towards a go first, hit hard mentality again. No barrel makes that even easier. I think you can run Plastic Man if you really want to stop it, if you really want to plan about going second. I personally don't have a Plastic Man. I'll be trying to find one at some point. But I'm glad Plastic Man's gone. Actually, if anything, if I had to make my crystal ball prediction, we will be seeing Green Scar. I said the major thing holding this guy back was the lack or the presence of the barrel. So I think come Worlds, we'll be seeing more Green Scar. Multiple attacks, moving through blocking. Super strong character, very good keyword and ruler. So yeah, I think we'll be seeing a lot of go first, hit hard, or main force Beetlejuice. Just more main force Beetlejuice. So be ready for those things. And that is all I have for this. If you want to see more content like this, let me know. This is my first foray into trying to make an actual HeroClix-centric video. So thanks.